I think that startups generally forget about systems and strategies. So startups are really in a limited situation, limited in terms of time and money. And they have to get something done very quickly in order to meet a market opportunity or in order to meet a funding opportunity. And I think one of the problems that happens is that they fail to just take a breath, step back, and then set up some basic systems and strategies to protect their intellectual and intangible property. I think startups generally tend to perform poorly when it comes to protecting intellectual property. The reason is that they're stressed. They just have to get out there and code, or they have to get out there and raise money, or they have to get out there and do roadshows and all of these events. And they're struggling for team members. They're struggling for every last resource. And I think when it comes to the actual sitting down and protecting their most valuable asset, which is intangible property, their intellectual property, they're generally poor at it. And what I see is examples as a lawyer where we have very expensive messes to fix up as a result of this. You have companies which were startups and now maybe are going for their Series A rounds, and they actually are coming in, they've got the investor in hand, but their valuation is actually lower than it should be because they didn't take the time in the beginning to set up their systems and strategies for intellectual property. Or you actually have just an expensive mess to clean up as an intellectual property lawyer. So valuation is lower, expensive mess, it costs more money, and everyone loses. The main reason that startups underestimate the legal side of their business is a lack of resources, particularly economic, but I should say also knowledge resources. So sometimes in the startup world, they think lawyers are just an expense that they don't need to invest in. And it can be true, lawyers can be expensive, but there are many startup lawyers out there who are willing to participate on a very discounted rate in order to help the startup ecosystem. So I think it's really a lack of resources and a lack of knowledge which leads to the startups failing to invest in legal strategy early on, to their detriment in the long term. So in terms of protecting intellectual property, I think that crypto technology is actually really useful. An example would be the ledgers where you can actually record innovations. And what that does is it actually allows innovators, startups to record when they have made a particular invention. And that's really useful because historically, you can do this in terms of patent, which is rather expensive, trademark, which is not always so easy, copyright, which actually hasn't been possible to record those rights anywhere historically, at least on a government registry in most countries. So I think that this is a really useful tool, the crypto technology, to helping startups to record their innovations. So they have proof. They have proof that they made this innovation at a certain particular time. And there's other useful aspects of the crypto technology. So once you have your rights recorded on cryptographic ledgers, you can actually then do other transactions which are beneficial to your startup. Could be the exploitation or the protection or the monitoring of your valuable innovations because you've recorded it on the blockchain, because you can then link into smart contracts and other innovations such as that. I personally always err on the side of sustainability. Maybe it's to my detriment that I think so long-term sometimes, but I think it's better to err on the side of sustainability than the alternative, because if you have an eye towards the future, at least at the end you will have something. Co-founders, they can come and they can go. You can have a major falling out with them. Ideas, they come and they go. But if you're not thinking about the sustainable approach in terms of your overall startup, in terms of your team members, in terms of your which avenue to take. Do I take this road or do I take that road? You're most likely always regret it. So I think in terms of the Czech ecosystem, it started behind. Developer revolution was not that long ago, and you had much better developed economies nearby, such as Germany, France, etc. So they've had the advantage, the historical advantage, but I would say that Czech is actually catching up quite well now. So they're still a little bit less developed in certain areas, but as you can see from events like today at the Startup World Cup and Summit, there's all sorts of initiatives here that are really helping the Czech system to develop and take a strong hold, take advantage of all of these opportunities in the digital economy. I would say also we have the innovation plan for 2030 here in the Czech government, which is a very important governmental backing to try to make sure that Czech Republic increasingly benefits from the innovations and the innovation ecosystem.
Focus on playing the long game. Seed Starter. Long game startups wanted.